Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Saturday Night Review Series for the, um, let's see, 2nd of November 1991. We continue our foray. This is a joint in progress version as Arachnaman and Dustin Rhodes going at it. Rhodes pretty well manages to do everything he can in terms of getting things going in his way with Arachnaman, although not exactly the best of situations as Arachnaman manages to kind of get under his skin a little bit in terms of just some pretty basic things here, and for the most part manages to get under his skin in the sense of Arachnaman having a little bit more, I don't even want to say experience, but just control of the arm for a little bit, and ultimately some super basic super stuff here. Rhodes, of course, tag team champion around this time, has been multi-time tag team champion with multiple partners, and certainly Dustin Rhodes is in a completely good and healthy place in terms of trajectory of his career. We are, as mentioned, foraying into 1991, which is an interesting time for WCW. They've only been around for a couple of years. Remember, not the same as Jim Crockett Promotions, and kind of having a little bit of challenges there. Um, it's interesting. Anyway, this particular featuring the top 10. They've done the top 10. WCW Magazine Bischoff announces that Brian Pillman won the light heavyweight title tournament in Halloween Havoc, and Paulie Dangerously, having returned, is now aligned with Rick Rude. Bischoff also showed the footage from a recent altercation between Rick Steiner and WCW champion Lex Luger that airs the following week, featuring the following matches announced for the November 19th clash as well. Steiner, Sting, and Rude, Pillman versus Johnny Bad, Dustin Rhodes, Barry Windham versus the tag team champions of Zbyszko and Anderson, and Van Hammer, Cactus Jack, Big Josh, and Tom Rich in a lumberjack match. PN News also out there. But it's like, Lady Blossom out there as well. And again, actually, this is Arachnaman defeating Doug Summers. I don't know why I said Dustin Rhodes, but Arachnaman gets the win there, gets a roll up with 320. And then we go to El Gigante and pinning Bill Ford with the claw in 1 minute, 20 seconds. Certainly not a super tight match there either. Obviously, kind of having the giant in going to get you some level of notoriety because of the size. Of course, he was playing basketball, or supposed to be, for the Hawks, and punch kick and the giant claw gets him a victory there. Back kick by Gigante, who manages to fight pretty aggressively here and manages to do what he can where he can. Big body slam. And then we go to the Z-Man Tom Zink out next. Z-Man Zink is ultimately managing to get a process here. Zink, of course, kind of a guy who's floating around at the time, 1991. Not the best of times for Zink. And of course, he never really was the same after leaving WWF. Tony Mella is the man in charge of doing the honors for Mr. Zink here, which he does reasonably well, I guess. Zink, though, manages a couple of basic maneuvers and ultimately manages also to get a couple of arm drags, basic moves there. Zink not willing to take backward steps. Zink also gets a couple of drop kicks and cross bodies. Zink in control for the majority of the basis, and as mentioned, super kick, a la almost Chris Adams was the main user in the U.S. at the time, out of World Class. Zink, though, stealing it because, well, World Class hadn't been around in a while. We then move to the next in series of matches. and Medusa and Bambi are here. Medusa looking like $1,000,000, punch kicking some clotheslines along the way. Actually, highlights from her time in the promotion, although not a full match to be had here. Medusa not really having a great deal of competition in WCW at the time because there wasn't a full fleshed out women's division. Johnny Bebad up next with the next full match. Johnny Bebad, of course, still managed by Teddy Long. Johnny Bebad is, I guess you'd say, considered a pretty regular combatant, as it were, and by this point, getting a medium-sized push within the company. Simple stuff, nothing necessarily worth writing home about. An enhancement match, nothing more, nothing less. But Johnny Bebad getting over at the time, beating Tommy grudgingly with a left hook, 246. Mike Graham provides guest commentary for the bout alongside Jim Ross. Talk about WCW Light Heavyweight Champion Brian Pillman defending against Bad at the Clash of Champions. After the contest, Long begs Graham to get into the ring and then gets the guy to make a save. Again, Johnny Bebad still doing the brawling gimmick, still doing the boxing gimmick, and a couple arm drags, nothing necessarily great. Certainly a different view of what the future of wrestling looks like from Dusty Rhodes at the time. Van Hammer out next. Van Hammer getting ready for his run with none other than Cactus Jack. Van Hammer, new to the promotion at the time, shoves Rip Rogers, who obviously is the key trainer in Ohio Valley for a bunch of years after this. Big body slam under through the middle ropes by Van Hammer. Van Hammer is sent to the floor by Rogers. Rogers gets nailed with a big leg drop and then hits the Slingshot Suplex and a win. Van Hammer promising to get rid of Cactus Jack coming up at the Clash. We then move to next in series of matches. We finally do have a ladies match in Fullness here. That happens to be one of the few in 1991 here. Bambi against Medusa. Obviously, Medusa is the highlight here. They had shown clips of a previous match between the two earlier in the program. Medusa not exactly in complete ring shape, having been out of Japan for a little bit. Medusa trying to crank back on the arm of her adversary and tries to easily manage to do that. Manages also to side headlock and get things going there. Medusa again manages to kind of try to get an arm breaker on Bambi and manages to do what she can where she can as far as that is concerned. And so Bambi sends Medusa to the top rope and into the top turnbuckle. Nothing necessarily great there. Bambi manages a clothesline. Bambi, of course, known primarily for her LPWA and POW, and I think it's POW work. I don't know that she was in Glow. Anyway, Medusa manages a spinning kick and gets things going in her direction. Then we see Bobby Eaton makes his way out. Bobby Eaton against Mr. Hughes. Mr. Hughes is the bodyguard to Lex Luger at this point, having had that role since July. So still there, and Eaton finally takes down Hughes, which is a pretty major deal at the time to actually take the man down. Crimping the leg, staying on the leg majority of time, working a body part, such a major part of well-done wrestling, and so few guys do it well these days. Anyway, Harley Race on the outside as the manager for Hughes. The whole story of the match is Bobby Eaton working over the leg and ankle of Mr. Hughes. Hughes unable to get back to a vertical base, which is the only reason Bobby Eaton's able to stay in the match with the Scythes. Disparage between the two, although it is a major run here to acknowledge that. Bobby Eaton also managing to get things going back in his general direction or under his general direction. Simplistically put, Bobby Eaton in pretty basic control. Eaton also manages a leaping back elbow and manages to get things going back his way in simplest form. Bobby Eaton also here, gets defeated by Mr. Hughes, which at the time is not a big feet, small feet kind of thing. Sting against Oz. Of course, Oz is Kevin Nash, and the Oz character obviously was done for the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. Still doing it at the end. Oz gets a couple of shots in on Sting. Sting misses the clothesline and gets a big body slam on what later became Kevin Nash, Vinny Vegas, Diesel, and the like. And just think about that. Less than 5 full years later, they were doing big business. Anyway, Sting manages to get a hot shot across the top rope, punch kick, and the Stinger managing to keep things going there. Sting hits a back kick, and ultimately manages to do what he can where he can. And Sting manages the Stinger splash in the corner for a minute, but Nash moves out of the way. Then we see Sting with a flying clothesline from the top turnbuckle, getting what he can and cross-bodying his man. Ultimately, Sting is in control there. Lex Luger basically runs down all of the challengers for the World Championship. He's unimpressed with that. He dispatched of Ron Simmons. Simmons, although doesn't agree with how he was dispatched. The Firebreaker Chip and Todd Champion, otherwise known as the Patriots, are up next in a tag match, which honestly doesn't have that much value. Punch kick, basic nail, and the leaping back elbow by the Patriots give them a quick victory. They are former and future U.S. Tag Team Champions at this point in their career, but neither guy really does a whole heck of a lot. We go to a 6-man tag team match to close things off. Runs about 8 minutes, as we have the formations of the Dangerous Alliance here in simple form. U.S. Tag Team Champion, or Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, and Michael Hayes ending up defeating their run, as we get Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, and Larry Zbyszko as the main opponents in that bout. And as mentioned, super simple, nothing worth writing home about, but at the same time still managing to do what they can where they can, and managing also to get a basic run of kind of a main event match to fill time, so to speak. I say not a lot to write home about because the match is good but inconsequential, and for most people that know me, they know I like consequential matches. In other words, matches that have a effect on story, and this one really doesn't. It's just there to fill television time, and I despise bookers who have to just fill time for the sake of filling time. Match itself as a standalone study piece is fine, but not going to be something that makes people tune in on the auspices. Of course, the injury to Barry Windham, a pretty big thing. Michael Hayes as a babyface here just doesn't seem to fit. He comes in and goes at it with Steve Austin. Of course, the early formation of the Dangerous Alliance, probably more impactful than ever before. Austin and Rhodes managed to go around a little bit, and obviously the baby faces do end up in a strong position here. We continue with the foray of the match. Austin bumping all over the place for Michael P.S. Hayes, and managing to do so quite effectively. Hayes manages to get his man up in the corner, and eventually the baby faces do get beaten here. Again, Steve Austin at the time, if you're looking, is phenomenal and still shows unlimited potential going forward. But who's to say, or would anyone have known that he was going to have that big an impact? Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.